Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is our broadcast journalism and documentary program information session. So everyone joining us here, hopefully you are applying for that session or possibly for that program or possibly interested in applying for this program in the future. We are going to go over some wonderful details about the program, what makes it unique, and some fun things you'll get to do in this program. I'm Danielle Chartier. I'm the undergraduate counselor for Dodge College, and I will be your host and moderator this evening. If you are joining us on Zoom, please go ahead and make sure that your camera and audio are off throughout the session. If you think of any questions during the session, please feel free to write them down and we can put them in the Q&A later, or if you'd like, you can pop them into the chat during the session. If you send it to the chat to everyone, our chat support person, Maddie, is in there and she can respond to those messages. But if you'd like to hold off and wait on them until the end, you are absolutely welcome to do that as well. Thank you so much for being here. All right, I'll go ahead and start by introducing our panelists today. We are going to have two faculty. We just have one at the moment, but I will go ahead and start with Suzanne. Suzanne, when you're ready.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you very much for your interest in our program. Looking forward to talking with you and answering any questions that you might have. My name is Suzanne Lysak, and as Danielle indicated, I am a professor in the broadcast journalism and documentary department. I've been at Chapman for about 6 years now and love teaching in the program. I come from a background of broadcast journalism, had a long career in various roles in TV news, and then many years ago made the transition to full-time teaching. So I'll just make a pitch my colleague Sally Rubin, documentary filmmaker, great filmmaker, is going to join us in about 20 minutes or so, and she heads up the documentary side of our major. I head up the broadcast journalism side. So again, I guess I'll just make a pitch for our program. I've taught in much larger programs, but what I like about this is that I get to know the students very well. As a matter of fact, two of the students you're about to meet, we were just in class together an hour ago when we produced our live weekly student newscast, right? Such too that we stream live. So it's a great program in terms of getting to know the students. The students get great hands-on experience very early on in the program. I think those are the strengths, and I can ask, of course, I'll be happy to answer questions with much more detail about the classes.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. We do have two wonderful students in the program joining us today. If y'all could just say your name, your year, major, minor, if you have one, and anything else related to this program that you're involved in. And I'll start with Ingrid.
Yes, hello. My name is Ingrid. I'm a senior broadcast journalism and documentary major, and I have a minor in public relations. Some things I'm involved in that are related to this program, like Professor Lysak mentioned, I'm part of Chapman News, the student newscast that goes live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. on YouTube and local channel. I'm also the executive producer for that. So I'm kind of the one in charge with my co-EP. We're deciding stories, we're helping our team be ready for the newscast every Tuesday. So that's something I'm heavily involved in. Similar to Caroline, I'm also part of the Chapman Sports Broadcast Network. I served on the executive board for 2 years. I'm currently not because I'm working on Chapman News, but I'm also heavily involved in sports production for that club. And then I also, outside of this program, I work as a game day technician for the San Jose Earthquakes and Bay FC up in the Bay Area. And I was a production assistant for the San Francisco Giants, so all sports related. And then this past summer, I had an internship with CBS Bay Area or KPIX.
Very cool. Thank you, Ingrid. And Caroline.
Yeah, Ingrid's awesome, by the way, guys. Hi everyone. My name is Caroline. I am also a senior broadcast journalism and documentary major. I have a minor in entertainment technology. That's one of the minors within Dodge. Also, like Ingrid, I am also part of that Chapman News class. We just finished our newscast for today. And then I'm also part of the Chapman Sports Broadcast Network. And then also on campus, we have something called Chapman Radio. So if you're interested in radio and a different type of broadcasting, it's also a really fun club to be in. I host my own radio show with my co-host, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you like music. And then additionally, I also like to do freelance commentating. So I commentate for Division I sports at Cal State Fullerton. I'm also going to be calling USA Women's Water Polo this weekend, so that'll be really exciting. And then this upcoming semester for spring, I'm going to be interning at Good Day LA, which is Fox 11 in Burbank. So super exciting stuff. So as you see, both Ingrid and I got a lot going on.
Most impressive ladies right here. Thank you so much for joining us. And Caroline is an excellent radio host. Y'all should definitely tune into her music show. Maybe she can put the link in there later. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. I'm going to go ahead and swing it back over to Suzanne. Suzanne, if you can just give us a brief overview of what this program looks like and what makes it unique.
Sure, sure. So when you start with us in the program, whether you're going to be a broadcast journalism emphasis or a documentary emphasis, and you don't have to decide that right away at all. So I think one of the strengths of the program is when you first start with us, your freshman year, you take courses, again, regardless of your interest, that are of use to both broadcast journalism and documentary students, right? You'll take an introduction to broadcast journalism class. You'll take an introduction to documentary class, an editing class, a video class, and such too. Storytelling, right? Everybody at Dodge College takes an introductory storytelling class, right? So that's where you meet a lot of your friends then and become close with your classmates and such. You have that establishing foundation, the skills, and honestly the collaboration, right? That's because that's something that Dodge really stresses and such too. So you take those foundation courses, and then you start. Those are the prerequisites, and then you start to build on your skills and your experience, right? We have classes that are where you'll be producing in teams mini documentaries, right? When you get to that point, you'll be taking news writing classes. That's one of the classes that I teach is the news writing class. There's a TV reporting class that you move to from there. On the documentary side, again, making mini docs, then writing for the doc is another class and such. So you're building, right, through the curriculum. You're building your skills. You're building your experience. And such. And then ultimately what it's leading to, of course, is the capstone experience. And for the documentary majors, that is the senior thesis film, where they make a film, right? And then also, and they have a budget for that the school provides. And then on the broadcast journalism side, as has been mentioned, you're working in the live student newscast, and you're taking on different roles every couple of weeks with that newscast. So you get a lot of experience behind the scenes with production, the editorial on-camera experience, if that's what you're interested, lots of opportunities for that as well. So that's kind of an overview of the program.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but something that we like to say sometimes is film and TV production is for mainly the fictional storytellers, and broadcast and doc is mainly for the non-fictional storytellers. So there's definitely still a heavy aspect of storytelling. I think every program at Dodge College is definitely looking for storytellers. So if these are the stories you want to tell, you are in the right place.
Yeah, I think we know professionally that it's all about storytelling, right? And such too. Yeah, you're right. And so sometimes people think of storytelling and they think of the fictional side of it. You're right. But effective documentaries, effective, engaging broadcast journalism, it is about storytelling. It's about finding the right characters, right? And then telling the story through their eyes, and such too. There's a lot of research involved in both majors before you're ready to broadcast or publish a story, and the same with documentary. There's so much preparation that goes into it, but that's an important skill to learn, right? And so we heavily emphasize that in the classes as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I know you touched on this a little bit with your overview, but can you explain what it means to emphasize in this program?
Yes, it basically, it's usually towards the end of your sophomore year where you're going to want to say, okay, which seems to be appeals more to me? Is it the broadcast journalism or the documentary side? And then in the future, we'll have a sports media emphasis as well. So you'll figure out, you kind of zero in on one of those, and that will dictate to a certain extent which courses you take to build towards that capstone experience. But what I like about this program, and again, it's different from other programs that I taught, it's not quite as rigid, right? You have a certain number of elective courses you take. So let's say you're a broadcast journalism major, but you have a lot, you enjoyed the documentary classes and you want to explore that a little bit more. There are elective courses. You have to take 12 credits of electives. And so you can, most of those can be, if you decide, most of those could be in the documentary side of things. And the same thing goes for documentary students who might also be interested in broadcast journalism. So the dual, yes, you choose an emphasis, although your degree is still a BFA in broadcast journalism and documentary. You choose an emphasis, but we like to have flexibility even when you choose that emphasis.
Thank you so much. Ingrid and Caroline, would you guys talk a little bit about how you chose what to emphasize in and what that means for your thesis? Go ahead, Ingrid.
Okay, it's okay. I wasn't sure. So going into this program, I knew immediately that I wanted to do broadcast journalism. I did broadcasting ever since middle school when I was doing my middle school's morning announcements, carried it on into high school. And so I really just love the fast-paced life of journalism and reporting. So when I came to Chapman and knew I wanted to go into broadcast journalism, it was a very easy decision for me because I knew exactly which part I wanted to emphasize in. And even though I did have like to take those, as Professor Lysak mentioned, those documentary classes in the very beginning, those, even though I was very grateful for that experience, seeing another side of storytelling, I just knew I really loved the broadcast program because I love how fast paced it is, especially when you're working on stories like on a deadline and you know, okay, once that story's done, okay, done. What's my next story that I have to work on? I love that adrenaline rush and that fast pace of broadcast journalism. So that's how I knew immediately that I wanted to go into broadcast journalism and tell stories kind of in a shorter form than documentary.
Yeah, I think for me it was a little different. So I transferred into Chapman, and when I transferred in, actually it came from a film background. So I was interested in pursuing film, but then I transferred to Chapman specifically because I was interested in the broadcast and documentary program because I decided I wanted to shift to nonfiction. And when I came, I didn't really know which side I liked more. At first, I was like, oh, I think I like documentary a little bit more. But then I started taking broadcast classes and I joined CSBN and I realized I really like the sports aspect and I really like the fast-paced aspect like Ingrid was talking about, but I also still really do enjoy documentary, and that's something that Professor Lysak was talking about is the ability to take both some documentary classes and broadcast classes, which I think is really great. I got to do a documentary travel course with Professor Sally Rubin, and we went to Thailand to make short documentaries, and I got to make one on the jazz scene in Chiang Mai, which was crazy. But it was such an awesome experience because we got to travel to somewhere completely different and spend a little more time with that story. And there's a ton of electives here that you can also take, as well as community voices, which I'm sure Professor Lysak will talk about, and Sally Rubin. But I kind of realized after doing that I was like, oh, I think I really do like broadcast more, but I still do like participating in doc, but my emphasis is in broadcast.
Thank you so much. And yes, we will get into study abroad and special opportunities in just a few. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's what I think is actually cool about this program as well, is it's not such a focused emphasis if you don't want it to be. You can definitely still do everything across the board within the program. You don't have to completely hyper focus. So thank you so much for sharing that, Caroline. Suzanne, I was wondering if you could discuss some career outcomes. So types of jobs that students with this degree should be going out and looking for, or if you know of any alums that have gotten jobs in the field, I would love to hear about it.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I can speak on the broadcast journalism side, documentary side, quite successful too. And I know that Professor Rubin, Sally, is going to join us within 5 minutes, so she'll have quite a bit more on that. But I will say this, yes, broadcast journalism, there are job opportunities, because I know there might be some parents on this call, and I can relate in terms of interest in terms of what are the employment opportunities. But I'll just say this, first of all, all of the faculty members in the broadcast journalism and documentary program are supportive of students while they're here, and then we also keep track of them, of course, after they graduate and immediately after they graduate and during their senior year as they're preparing in the job hunt, right, the job search. We are very much that's another thing I love about the program, able to coach students one-on-one. And I'll just note, like for example, we have a student who's graduating next month who's been focused on broadcast journalism, and she has three separate job offers as a reporter and such too already. So there are opportunities, particularly in local television newsrooms, and the training that you get here prepares you for that, whether you want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera, and the various roles that are available. There are around the country, we've had students graduate, work in Charleston, South Carolina, off the top of my head, Palm Springs, California, Colorado Springs, what other markets and such too. There have been many of them. So those job opportunities are out there. We have recruiters who regularly visit and want to talk to our broadcast journalism seniors about what they're interested in and such too. So yeah, there are definitely career opportunities, and I love to stay in touch, honestly, with our alums and coach them through their first couple of years in the industry, right? Because it doesn't stop here. Learning, of course, moves on once you take that first job. And sometimes it's just good. Like I know you pretty well. I've gotten to know you pretty well over 4 years. And so let's stay in touch. And if you have any challenges, questions and such when you're in your first job, reach out. I think that's very important.
Thank you so much. Career development is such a huge, huge thing that we do focus on here at Dodge College. We know that these industries are not easy to break into, so we do weigh heavily on our career development. We do have our own career center here at Dodge College that not only is available to you during your time at Dodge, but it still continues to be available to you as an alum. So anyone who's out there looking for a job, you can still reach out to our career advisors and get any assistance that you might need. And then, as Professor Lysak just said, we do really make sure that you guys have great bonds with your faculty here. I'm sure I see Ingrid and Caroline nodding their head. It's so common. It's such a huge thing that Dodge students talk about being really one of their favorite parts about being a Dodge student is our faculty really, really tries to support you in any way that they can. They might help you find internships, jobs. They'll be available for office hours. So that's one of the reasons why we really try and keep our class sizes small, is because we want our faculty to know who you are. We want them to know your name. We want them to know your strengths so that they can really support you in the best way possible. So with that, I would love.
Can I chime in on one thing on that? Because
Yeah, of course.
I think it is important, and I just want everybody on the call. I had a long TV news career, but I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I'll tell you, and this is for both the students and the parents on the call, I think it's really important that you look into everywhere you're applying. You look into not just the courses and the curriculum and such too, but you ask questions about what kind of mentorship is there available to students, to your student, because that, I've learned, I find that to be, well, now actually the most satisfying part of the job, having taught again for more than 20 years. Love to teach skills and have students improve with writing and photography skills and storytelling skills. But it is the relationships that I form with them, the rapport and the coaching that is the most rewarding to me. Mm-hmm.
It's so valuable. Absolutely. Ingrid and Caroline, would you mind chatting with us about internship opportunities that you've been able to get at your time at Dodge? Either one can go.
Okay, I'll go first. So for me, actually, if Sally Rubin was here, I could give her a shout out. So since I transferred here in my very first semester that I was here, like day one, we had an orientation. Professor Sally Rubin was so kind and generous, and she was like, I know that you're a transfer, so I'm going to put you on this email list, and I'm going to send you job opportunities and or internship opportunities. And so within the very first month that I started attending Chapman, I was able to get an internship working as an assistant editor on a documentary. And my little claim to fame is I got to edit an interview with Shaquille O'Neal. So that was really cool. So I got that. And then I also got to work at a really great internship, which is local. So if you are like from out of state or something like that, and you're looking for somewhere where maybe you don't have a car, Seacrest Studios at Chalk Hospital, run by the Ryan Seacrest Foundation, a really great internship. I had a really great time there. I worked there over the summer, and then Um, I also have just been able to do like other jobs and things like I kind of talked about earlier. And then I'm really looking forward to the internship that I'm going to have with Good Day LA this spring. A lot of Chapman students will go through that program. One of the professors actually here, Michelle Polfrey, she's an executive producer there. She also went to Chapman, so she is a really great pull over there. So I'm really excited to do that. But I'll move it over to Ingrid because I know she also had some really awesome internship.
Yeah, I mean, Caroline is also just a superstar in what she does. So like it makes sense how she's had all the opportunities she's had. I guess on my end, my first job I ever officially got, the game production technician over at PayPal Park in the Bay Area, that I had cold applied to. And so I think the skills that I developed here at Chapman, especially when I first took my studio class that teaches you how to use like the control room equipment, the studio equipment, and then like honing that in during the Chapman Sports Broadcast Network's games, being able to learn how to use that equipment and like how to work in a live environment. Stuff like that really helped me solidify my very first job in the industry. And because of that, I've been able to also provide some of my friends who live up in the Bay with me. I've also given them opportunities too and kind of getting them into the industry. And then in terms of my KPIX internship, I actually reached out to Professor Suzanne Lysak for some help, who did know someone at the station, and she got me in contact with him, and he helped me throughout the application process, at least push my resume forward, and then got me an interview. And then kind of from there, I just continued working at it, making sure that I took in all of my experience at Chapman, talking about how I've worked in a live newsroom before with Chapman News, how I do have experience and passion for working in a newsroom. And so that really helped me get my internship with CBS.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have just been joined by Sally Rubin. Sally, if you want to take a second and just introduce yourself, your position, and your background.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So glad you could all make it, and really looking forward to meeting some of you at some point in person, talking further. I have been at Chapman for 16 years, and I'm the program coordinator for the Broadcast Journalism and Documentary program. I teach documentary film, and I run all sorts of different programs related to documentary. We have a social issue documentary program called Community Voices. Some folks may have heard of or read about on the website. I've run that for almost 16 years, and talk more about that later in the session. I also teach travel courses all over the world. I teach wildlife and environmental documentary film and various social issue documentary classes, and I'm the advisor to the documentary club. And I'm also a really active documentary filmmaker myself. I'm from Boston originally, got my master's at Stanford in documentary film, and have been making films since then, mostly social issue docs about representation and identity. I'm working on a film right now about cowboys, looking at sort of the cowboy icon in American mythology and the ways in which different traditionally marginalized groups are sort of reclaiming and redeploying that identity for their own purposes. So very happy to be here and looking forward to talking more.
Thank you so much, Sally. While I have you, I'm going to swing a question over to you really quick. We were just chatting about successful alums. I was wondering, could you tell us about any successful documentary filmmaking that has happened either by current Dodge students or Dodge alums?
Sure. I am happy to share some specific examples. I also always like to share this news right up front. I think parents love hearing what I have to say, which is I literally do not know one student, grad, and from all the years that I've been teaching here, who wants to be working in the documentary field who isn't. Anybody who has wanted to have a career in documentary has been able to figure out how to do it. Not necessarily working as a full-time paid director for a living, but combining that, sort of those gigs with other ways of making a living within the field, editing, cinematography. So I always like to preface that question by giving that response. I think it just lets people rest easy a little bit. We have so many successful alumni. We've got alums who are working at places like National Geographic. A recent alum just got a full-time job at Hulu working in their development department. We have a former student who just released a film at Tribeca, Ben Mullen-Cosson. He's one of our most successful alumni. Another pair of students just is releasing a film theatrically here in LA. I just got an email from them yesterday inviting me. So, we have a whole range. I would say our students go into a range of sort of locations after they graduate, from independent documentary filmmaking to working at the big streamers, Netflix and other streamers, to forming their own production companies. And actually, a lot of those production companies are formed with other Chapman grads. And then they often go into like branded content, working with companies like Yeti, REI, Patagonia, to make films that are sort of underneath that brand and are fully funded.
Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and do another question just to anyone who would like to answer. What kind of projects can students expect to complete over the course of this program, and how do those projects prepare them for the industry?
Well, I'll start. As we mentioned, in each class, you start out and you build your skills. So let's take the broadcast journalism emphasis for just a moment. So you are reporting stories in the community, right? And again, it's a multi-layered process. As I mentioned, there's research that goes into it before your idea is approved. You pitch your idea, and then we work through it. And when it's finally approved, you go out into the community and you are doing interviews, and you are videography, obviously, and such a too, and then you're working on a deadline to put it all together, which is exactly what you'll experience in the industry. So you have work, in other words, to show when you apply for an internship or you apply for a job eventually. You have that work to show. You have your writing skills, you have your videography skills, reporting skills, all of that. Each of the classes, we have a social media journalism class as well. You're building these skills and you have work to show. You have a portfolio to show, which is very helpful for moving into the industry.
You're muted, Danielle.
Oops.
Thank you. Anything to add from the doc side, Sally?
Similar, we were very practical, I would say, as a program. Professor Lysak and I sort of co-run the program, and we really think about how can we train you guys so that you can really be actively working in the field, not just focusing on your own sort of esoteric experimental projects, that might be interesting, but not practical. We really try to train you with skills that you're going to be using day one as soon as you graduate. So I would say on the doc side, we're just teaching you the foundational elements of how to create an effective, compelling documentary, really from day one of your education here. So you'll graduate with numerous films under your belt, your thesis film, which is 15 minutes, often a community voices film, also 15 minutes. And then from all of our intermediate and beginner level doc classes, you'll have usually 5, 6, 7 other projects. We do train you in different forms, different, sort of creative approaches to the genre, from survey and essay style doc to cinema verite observational filmmaking to personal and reflexive style filmmaking. We make sure you get sort of a little bit of a taste of all of the genres so that by the time you graduate, you've been able to really find your voice as a filmmaker.
Amazing. Thank you. Let's see here. Okay, so I can swing this to students and faculty. How does this program collaborate with other programs at Dodge College?
Well, we have in our classes, at least I can speak to the doc side. We've arranged it so that we have quite a few students from other disciplines in almost all of our classes, actually. We've got a lot of film production and television writing and production students in our classes from all levels, actually, from intro all the way up through not quite to the thesis level, but through our intermediate classes. So there's a lot of sort of interdisciplinary pollination there. And then with the thesis projects this year for the documentary thesis films, all of our documentary directors have teamed up with creative producing students. So they all have creative producing students working on those films as well. We also, several of our classes count as general elective requirements, which means we bring in students from main campus, business majors, psychology, communication, English majors who are interested in taking, for instance, documentary history. I have a bunch of those students in my class right now, and that's always really fun because, students get to work with students from other disciplines.
Thank you so much. And Caroline, I saw you nodding a lot as well. Do you have a story maybe about collaborating with other Dodge majors?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think also we actually do get to take some of the same classes that film production students will take. Like Professor Lysak was talking about learning how to use a camera and things like that. So we will take an audio class with them. We will also take an editing class with them. But additionally, of course, you're going to a film school. So obviously the big major here is film. So I would encourage anyone to try to get on a film set. It's not hard to. Those classes that you're going to take, you actually have to work on a film set. And a lot of friends that you'll make here, of course, they'll be film and TV production majors. So I'm friends with a lot of them. So I'll be working on set quite often, not as often this year, but I'll usually be working on the sound team. And I think it's just a really great way to broaden your skill set because, yes, documentary and broadcast, and we learn very different skills from them. But to be on set, I think is also really good because one, you get to meet a bunch of people within the school. And then second of all, it's just a good way to learn what you should like to be on set, the correct mannerisms and also how to act and also how they run their set. So I think all these skills are really transferable. So it's great that we get to participate in those classes, and then we get to work with them as well as like Professor Sally Rubin is saying, like creative producers, we're working with them as well. So it's kind of great that we kind of get to collaborate on all different ends.
Caroline came with me last January to Thailand
Yes.
on a documentary travel course, Global Documentary Communication. She made an absolutely fabulous film about the subculture of jazz in Chiang Mai, Thailand. She did a lot of the heavy lifting, I happen to know. And you on that course, you worked with students from a lot of other disciplines, didn't you? You had communications folks, directing folks. Who else was in your team? Do you remember?
There was a screenwriter who was the only other Dodge person on my team. Everyone else was a communications major. But I think it was really interesting to work with them because you kind of, one, are teaching them as a documentary student, you know how to do all the production stuff. But they also are really good with, like learning about kind of the culture and things like that. And so it's really cool that we got to share those things on that course. So overall, that was a really fun experience.
Thank you so much for sharing. I want to point out too, while we're on the subject of collaboration, I say this all the time in admissions, but Dodge really is collaborative, not competitive. So if you're really looking for a nurturing environment to come in and learn things in, this is definitely the place for you. Dodge students are amazing at networking and amazing at being proactive. If you want to learn a skill that isn't even remotely part of your program, you can probably find a way to learn it. That is just something to keep in mind is don't ever think that you're going to get stuck in any single track here at Dodge. You can absolutely curate your education and find different pathways that you want to go down and make that work for you. So on the subject of travel, I wanted to chat about special opportunities that this program offers, whether it's master classes, events, study abroad, anything of that nature, whenever you're ready.
Travel related or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can start with travel. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we offer so many travel opportunities, at least on the documentary side, we really feel that, it's just really important for you guys to be citizens of the world. And we have funded programs. Community Voices is fully funded, so I'm about to take students to Taiwan, making documentaries, on a fully funded travel course and working on those films actually for a year. And then we have other, courses where we have sort of partial scholarships. We try to keep the cost of the travel courses low. And Chapman has, I think, a pretty generous policy around interterm and summer, which is any courses you take over interterm are you don't pay for the credits. And then for summer, you get one free tuition-free travel course during your time here during the summer. So that means you're just paying for the course cost, the travel cost. You're not paying for tuition, which makes those courses possible for a lot more students.
Thank you. And I'm sure, I believe you said this, Sally, but for anyone that's wondering, like, can I take travel courses over winter interterm over summer so that it doesn't conflict with any classes that I've enrolled in or anything like that? You absolutely can. There's plenty of opportunity for that. Ingrid, did
We
you?
try to plan the timing strategically, like the Community Voices course, for instance, we're leaving the day after graduation. We're back by June 3rd. So we've just kind of shoehorned it in, and then students have the whole summer to do their internships and jobs.
Amazing. Thank you. Ingrid, I was going to swing it over to you. Have you done any travel courses or study abroad? I'm trying to remember.
I did do a travel course. I went to South Korea over interterm when I was a sophomore, so 2 years ago. But I went to go study the Korean film industry because I've just always been interested in Korean culture. And so even though it wasn't necessarily part of the broadcast and doc program, I think having that opportunity to still like explore a different side of like storytelling, specifically getting in tune with the film side. So we visited a lot of sets from like major production companies. We actually got to go visit a stunt school and got to actually do stunts. So that was like, I think the best memory I have from that. And then the only, I guess like the two broadcast related things that we did get to see, we got to go into a Korean newsroom, which is very interesting because the way how of like with Korean culture is just very different from how it is in American newsroom. So getting that exposure, especially when I think Korean press is a little they don't have as much freedom with the government as we do here in America. So seeing that different angle was very eye-opening. And then we also got to go see a live K-pop broadcast. So also seeing kind of more of like the live production side. And that was also really cool seeing all the celebrities there. And so I think that's also the great thing is that if you have a passion towards something, you're not necessarily hold into that one specific lane, as I think this program is a very big factor of showing proof that you can kind of hop between the lanes, is that you have the ability to explore whatever you're interested in. And even after coming back from that Korea trip, I ended up taking intro to Korean cinema. So I learned a lot about Korean cinema at the same time, even though I am a broadcast student. So I think that's a very nice bridge that Dodge does allow you to go on. Is like if you do have a passion and you really want to explore it, even if it's not necessarily in broadcast and it's in a different like culture area or something that you're very interested in as a hobby, that is something that Dodge really caters you towards and says, yeah, like we're here to support you and we want you to get the most out of your college experience here.
Thank you, Ingrid. Does anyone have anything else to add in terms of any other special opportunities? Do we have people that visit for this program? Do we have master classes for this program? Anything else you want to chat about?
We did just have Nick Broomfield here for a couple days. He's a classic veteran documentary filmmaker. We were able to bring him in from the UK actually for several days to work with our students and do a master class, and then he'll be back this spring. You guys should all check out, if you haven't already, I assume it's on the Dodge College website, but the list of past and present future guests for the master classes. I'm sure, Danielle, you and your team, did you already talk about Carmi, Jeremy Allen White?
We haven't yet. You can bring it up.
He's coming on Friday, right? Carmi from The Bear, who's played Bruce Springsteen.
He's actually
Isn't he
coming
here
tonight.
today?
He's coming
Oh,
tonight.
now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then Ariana
Very
Grande is
excited.
coming.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez was here.
Yeah, no, I was able to score a ticket for tonight.
Carmi?
Yeah, for yes, for the Springsteen documentary showing and then the discussion with Jeremy Allen White. So I'm looking
I
forward.
don't think it's a doc.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the film, I should say.
Biopic.
Yeah, such too, but yes.
Yeah, biopic. Yeah, they're going to screen it and then do a Q&A. And although it is supposed to be about Springsteen, I have a feeling everyone is going to yell, "Yes, chef." Let's be real.
Right. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Caroline or Ingrid, do you have any good stories of any master classes you've been able to attend or?
Yes, 100%. When I like the first year I was here, we had Billie Eilish and Phineas, and I had entered a lottery for that, and I was able to get in, and it was a really fun experience. I also got to see a pre-release screening of Saltburn, if anyone knows what that film is. It's directed by Emerald Fennell. Crazy watching experience because you're sitting in a room of 500 other college students who love film, so There were a lot of sounds going on. And then I also got to see, oh, we had Ken Jennings last year, so we got to play a live round of Jeopardy, which was
Wow.
so fun. Like we all played like on our phone, and like it got very vocal. And then
Cool.
we also had, I also got to see Anthony Hopkins when he came. We screened The Father for that, which was really cool. Saw Mikey Madison a week before she won her Oscar. Um, yeah, so many really good people have come. I'm sure Ingrid has been able to go to some as well. But yeah, they're really fun to go to, and it's always a fun time to go with your friends.
Yeah, just hopping off of what Caroline said, all great people have also come to talk to us. I went to see The Rock a couple weeks ago. That was a very interesting one where we watched Smashing Machine. And I would think I was like in the second row from like the stage. So that was like really cool seeing him up close. I think that's the closest I've ever been to a master class. I think that the one that stood out to me the most though that I went to was I got to see Michelle Yeoh before she won her Oscar for
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. And especially I think as an Asian American, like hearing her talk about her journey, especially since she started off in the Hong Kong film industry, which is like where my family's from. And so learning about her perspective and coming into Hollywood and seeing that difference. And it was really catered more towards learning about her career. And like, even though she is an actor, like how she still has a lot of input in film and like storytelling. And so I think that's the greatest thing with any of the master classes that you go to is that even though it is like about an actor or like a director, producer, and how they approach their film, the core thing that you're going to get out from these master classes is the storytelling. And even through Jeopardy, you're getting storytelling of how do competitions work, like how do you keep people entertained. And so I think that's where the master classes are really cool, and you just also get to see a lot of cool people come by, like The Rock.
So many cool ones. We have a K-pop Demon Hunter masterclass coming up soon, which I'm really excited about. So all sorts of fun stuff happening over here at Dodge. All right, well, unless anyone has anything to add in terms of information on the program, I think I might go ahead and open it up for some Q&A. Anyone who is attending this session, please feel free to pop your questions into the chat box and I can answer some things live. How did Chapman News go today, y'all?
Very well, very well. We had a great, it's the 8th of our 9 newscasts this semester. And I think we had some great content, that's for sure. We had a live shout out at the local airport, right, about how flights have been impacted with the government shutdown and such. And we had Caroline did a great sports segment. She really did. And again, Ingrid is the executive producer, one of the executive producers. So she was leading the class today, and it went very well.
Yay, thank you. I love hearing about it. Ingrid and Caroline actually both work in my office in admissions as well. So I get to hear all the fun stuff that comes out of Chapman News and CSBN and all of that. I do see a question in the chat. Someone's asking about the music department and scoring. This program is entirely broadcast journalism and documentary, so we won't be going over any music departmental questions. However, if you're referring to maybe adding music or editing audio or anything like that for your documentary films or anything of that nature, there absolutely, we have Foley stages, we have ADR rooms, we have finishing suites, all sorts of technical areas that you can use to score films or anything regarding music or sound when it comes to your films. So we do have that available. Next question I'm seeing, do freshmen get to be involved in Chapman News, or is that just for seniors? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I can, although Ingrid and Caroline are just as informed about this as I am, because Ingrid is one of the ones that organized the freshman participation in Chapman News. So yes, we want to encourage freshmen to be involved with Chapman News, and so we do provide that opportunity. If your schedule allows, on Tuesdays, we have you come in for the newscast and participate in different roles, right? You might be operating one of the studio cameras during Chapman News and the rehearsals that lead up to it, operating the audio board, graphics and such too, all of that. So they're very important, actually. Our freshmen are very important to Chapman News. And when you're not doing that, we also invite you to go out on stories with our reporters, right? Out into the community, out into the field, and help with those. And social media, we're very big. check out the Chapman News Instagram. Students do a great job with that, and the freshmen they help with that as well. So yes, I definitely encourage freshmen who are interested in that to get involved as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And you don't even need to be in this program, right? So
Yeah,
no
that's
matter
true.
what year you are, no matter what program you're in,
Yes.
you can absolutely join Chapman News. I got a direct message that was actually asking about sports. So we went over this a little bit, but Caroline or Ingrid, can you chat about the ways that we cover sports, how we incorporate sports broadcasting? They're asking like, do we offer commentary on live stream, things of that nature?
Do you want me
I
to?
was gonna say, Caroline, you can go because you're actually a commentator, so I think you should take this one.
Okay, well, I think Ingrid could also really speak to this because she served on the executive board, guys. But yeah, so Chapman Sports Broadcast Network is a club at Chapman. So Chapman University is a Division III school. So that means we don't have a big broadcaster like ESPN or somebody come in to broadcast our sports because we are D3. But the benefit of that is that we at Dodge, we're able to broadcast all the sports at Chapman because we are D3 and we're a number 4 film school. So we get to combine all the awesome equipment that we have here and we get to broadcast football, baseball, basketball, water polo, swim, volleyball, anything pretty much, you name it. And then, yes, we do have commentators. So I'm one of those commentators. Ingrid's going to sideline this weekend. It's going to be awesome. For football, SCIAC Championship. It's exciting. But yes, we will like train ourselves. We also have students who have done this for a while, so we'll help you out with it. And we have tons of ways to get involved. Like, although we have really big broadcasts, we have smaller versions of those because obviously there's like sports games happening every single day. And so you'll have commentators needing to cover that. So as a freshman, you will be able to start calling games super early on and learn from people who are not only in the club, but just being on that broadcast. But it's a really great experience. I think, Ingrid, if you want to add something to that.
I mean, I feel like you pretty much covered all of it. I feel like she could be our spokesperson at this rate. But the nice thing also about the sports production program is that you're using industry level equipment. So every single piece of equipment you touch and you use is literally what you're going to be seeing out in the field. Because of my experience working as a replay operator on the replay system we use for our sports broadcast program, I got a job because of it, because I said I knew how to use it. And so those are the kind of tools that you will get. And especially like Caroline said, when you get to talk with a lot of people, I met Caroline actually through the club because I didn't have a class with her at that point yet. And so when I first met her and I was like, oh my gosh, you're amazing at what you do. And that's how you also get to meet people in the program that you may not know about and also outside of the program. One of our alumni, or I guess a lot of our alumni, they're not even who are like commentating for big universities. Like we have one who commentates for Pepperdine and Stanford University, and others commentating at Westcliff. They weren't Dodge majors at all, and so that's also the kind of community aspect that you get from that club. Is you really get to meet people and network while also just having fun and sharing your love for either live broadcasting or sports or both at the same time.
Thank you, Ingrid. I'm going to go ahead and go to another question here. That was super thorough. Thank you so much. Yes, you can do sports here. On that note, actually, someone is asking, is there a way to specialize in a specific field? Right now, you can go broadcast track or documentary track, but soon we are also offering a sports media track. And expanding our sports broadcasting curriculum as well in the future. That's probably a year or so out. So follow up with us on
Starting
that.
when they would come, starting in the fall of next year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yeah, so anyone that's interested in that track, it's definitely very possible once you get here. We had another question asking, who owns your projects? My favorite thing to talk about. At Dodge College, you own all of your work. You make a documentary film, you own it, not Dodge. So you want to take it to film festivals, you want to do things with it afterwards, it's yours. So do not worry about ownership or copyrights. We'll not take anything from you. This is a fun question. After Chapman News shows, do you guys do show reviews to give feedback and critiques to each other?
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah, it's a twice weekly class. It meets for 4 hours on Tuesday because we're doing the live newscast. And then it meets for 2.5 hours on Thursdays. And that's Thursday is all about the critique, where we watch the newscast. And yes, we give each other feedback. The EPs, Ingrid is one of them. They prepare every Thursday a great presentation, where how can we improve? What did we do well? So yes, there's a lot of feedback. That's a big part of the Chapman News class.
Thank you so much. This is an equipment question. Maybe one of you can answer. ARIs and Avids, what do we use on the TV stage?
Okay, well, we use, in terms of our editing, Adobe Premiere primarily for the broadcast side of it. But students do learn Avid. I know they learn, in one of the introductory classes is Avid based.
Thank you so much. If anyone has any more technical questions, please feel free to email us as well. There are other people that can answer that. We actually have a wonderful TV stage manager, Dave, shout out Dave, that can definitely help you with more questions as well if you need anything in that regard. All right, let's see here. All right, I'm gonna come down to this question. How do you get into the program? That's valid. Maddie just went and she linked the how to apply page. So if anyone's interested in the current application requirements, please check it out. It is not a traditional portfolio. We're not expecting people that apply to this program or any Dodge program to have like a heavy amount of background in it or anything like that. We want to know you have passion for storytelling. We want to know that you have room to grow and you're willing to work hard at your craft. So please feel free to check out those requirements there. And for anyone interested, the current admission rate for this program is about 30 to 40%. I would call it a competitive program, but it's definitely not going to be our most impacted program at Dodge. So don't stress out. Please apply. If you're passionate, we will see that come through in your application. This question is for Ingrid. Ingrid, since you have an internship in the Bay, how often are you going to that and how do you balance it with your schedule?
That's a really good question, actually. So first off, I don't have the internship anymore. That was just for the summers, but I was going into the off. I was commuting up from my home to San Francisco, 5 days a week, working from basically a 9 to 5 shift, like how anybody in that newsroom would. Um, but essentially, what I did was I just made sure that I really prioritized my time. It's because I didn't have school, I wasn't too worried about having to like have it interfere with my classwork and everything. But I was also working 2 other jobs simultaneously at the same time with that internship. I don't recommend doing that unless you want to get burnt out. But I think if anything, like when it comes to time management, that's something that you really do also learn here. And I think also as a broadcast journalist and even as a documentarian, when it comes to balancing your workload while making sure you meet those deadlines and having that good work-life balance, I think that's something that a lot of us, I think Caroline can also tap into this, like having that work-life balance is something that everyone is still trying to learn in college, balancing your work life and your social life. It's something that everyone is still learning. And I think that's something that's okay, especially now working as an EP for Chapman News. I've learned how to prioritize my time a lot better, learning how to take care of like other people in my team and being there for my team, but also making sure that I'm taking care of myself and making sure that like I do the daily necessities of like eating, sleeping, like doing what I need to do for my other classes at the same time. So you really do get the idea of how to balance your work and your life, and it all just comes together and everyone gets through it together. Like everyone goes through the same thing.
Thank you so much. All right, let's see what else we have in our chat here. Let's see. Someone is asking about the Student Television Network. Do we have any connection or opportunities through that, Sally or Suzanne?
We have recently, we're going to try to perhaps reconnect with that program. I've been told that prior to my arrival many years ago at Dodge, yes, the program was connected with it. And so it's funny that that's asked because just this week we've been in communication. And so, yes, we may resume our relationship at some point with the Student Television Network.
All right, very cool. Thank you. Let's see. If you get an internship or job during the school year, could it count for course credit? Yes, absolutely. There are definitely opportunities to take internships and have it count towards course credit. So it's never going to be a situation where your internship is derailing your educational pathway or anything like that. It's always going to add value. So don't worry about that. And we do have in-house advisors as well here at Dodge. So all undergraduates here at Dodge can always make an appointment with an academic advisor, talk about what an internship for course credit looks like, move around your curriculum as needed, things of that nature.
I also
Let's see.
want to add to that, Danielle, is like
Please.
my internships that I've done are both going to be for academic credit. So the Seacrest one I did was actually Professor Lysak was my mentor for that. So like I would be doing the internship, but I would also be doing some assignments for her to submit, so I would get that course credit. And then for Good Day LA, it's going to be something similar. So yes, like you'll be doing like you'll be working with your professor who's your mentor, but you'll also be doing the internship at the same time to get credit.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that. Let's see, we have someone asking, is there a limit to how many students are admitted each year? Yes. And the reason is because Dodge College really finds that it's important to have small class sizes. It's important that we have small student to faculty ratio so that everyone can really get their voices heard, everyone can get the support that they need. So yes, we do cap enrollment for all of our programs. So that is the case. Let's see. I love this question, and it's okay if you guys have long answers because I think it's all right if this is our last one. What are the biggest lessons you have learned from working on various stories? Caroline and Ingrid, I see the gears turning. You're like, which story am I going to tell right now?
I feel like Ingrid should go first. She has
You want me to go first?
yes, you have so many good packages.
Oh man, okay. I think the biggest thing I've learned, at least during my time in Chapman News, has been finding my niche and what I love telling. And so I think like if you ask anyone, like you can even ask Caroline or anyone in Chapman News, one of the more notable stories I did was I covered a Thai tea shop here in Orange County that just came over from Thailand, and I did a live taste test on camera for it. And I think my way of how I told the story, I was focusing more on the owner and how she chose to open up the store brand, and how like she was never in the food business before. She was a worker for Disney, and so her coming over and opening this new chain really established our relationship also with the brand. And I think that's when I really learned that not only do I love telling very niche, fun, featurey kind of stories, I also love telling character driven stories, which is something that I think I also really learned at my internship with CBS, especially since CBS itself is very focused on character driven stories, which is something that I really tried to implement with my co-EP this semester in Chapman News. And Caroline has heard me talk about this millions of times, but about how we focus more on telling the people stories, because at the end of the day, when you're telling stories, you can't have a story without the people involved, and that's the true core of a story. And so I think that's what I really learned, is how as a journalist you really have to also listen to the people, even though yes, it may seem easy, like, oh, you're sitting down in an interview and you're listening to them talk. Their story is what you're sharing. They are what make the story. They're what make the story relevant. And that's how people connect with the viewers when they're watching. And so that is something that I've definitely taken away from this program and from my time here at Chapman as a student. And so I think that is the biggest takeaway I've done. And it's really carried over into my work this semester. Caroline, I don't know if you have something else.
So yeah, I just want to echo that. Also, I'm just attaching the YouTube link to Chapman News. But yeah, I honestly just want to agree with everything that Ingrid said. Is I think one of the biggest lessons, not only through the stories that we've done, but through this program and through this major, is really how to effectively communicate and talk to people and learn about them, and really, you know, exactly what Ingrid said, is to tell their stories. Because I feel like Professor Lasak knows this, is it's really hard to get people to say yes to you sometimes if you send an email and you're asking to interview somebody, especially if you're covering something that's more difficult. Like I remember like the first project I was assigned for when I first started Chapman News was the DEI, and that was so hard. It was so hard to get somebody to talk to me, and I wasn't able to, and it was really frustrating. But I was able to work with the EPs and Professor Lysak, and I was able to tell a different story. And I think that was really good because it taught me how to widen the way I could communicate a story and things like that. And then also just learning to interview people because you're just trying to make people feel comfortable with you, right? And it could be anything. It could be the Thai tea shop. I recently finished a story on a local flag football team. I also am really excited for this story that I got to do about this a woman who's going to be drafted for the Women's Professional Baseball League. She is one
Oh.
of two people drafted from Orange County. She made it through tryouts of 600 plus girls. She never has gotten to play ever on a professional baseball team. And to hear her story and meet her family, it was so inspiring. And also, it's just a really great way where you get to travel to all these different places and you get to meet all these people and you get to learn how to really tell their story to the best of your ability. And I feel like that's really the highlight of this program.
Thank you so much, Caroline. That was such a beautiful way to end this session, actually. I think something that impresses me the most about students in this program is when you do this type of storytelling, you have to be delicate and sensitive and know that there's so much nuance. And so y'all are so impressive. Thank you so much for being here. I went ahead and popped a bunch of things into the chat for everyone. You have our Dodge Admissions email. If you have any other questions, please email us. We have our own admission office at Dodge, open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we have tons of people available to answer your questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you. I've also linked to the Ask a Student page. If you want to chat with either Ingrid, Caroline, or anyone else in the program that has that's on there to chat with, please feel free. I also linked how to register for a Dodge tour, how to register for a regular Chapman University tour, all of our application requirements, as well as our YouTube. Thank you, Caroline, for also linking the CSBN YouTube and the Chapman News YouTube. If anyone would like to check that out, please feel free. All right, well, we are out of time. Thank you so, so much to Sally and Suzanne for being here. Thank you, Ingrid, Caroline, and Maddie for all of your support and insight. And thank you to all of you guests that have come to join us today. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you would like to chat with us further. And I hope everyone has an excellent night.